Hello. I'm honored to speak at the US Senate, and I'm very grateful for the sincere bipartisan support we have received from the senators who joined us today. My name is Sheila Neinavaie. I'm an Iranian American living in Greater San Francisco Bay Area. I was arrested 3 times and spent a total of 8 years in various Iranian prisons. I was first arrested in November 1981 by the Iranian regime security forces when I was barely 15 years old at my home in Tehran and taken to the notorious Evin prison simply for distributing the literature of the main Iranian opposition movement, the MEK. After months of torture with no due process, I was sentenced to 5 years of imprisonment in a trial that lasted less than 3 minutes. I was again arrested in May 1987, only 4 months after my release, and once more taken to Evin for another 2 years. This jail sentence coincided with the well-documented massacre of thousands of political prisoners in the summer of 1988. On August 15, 1988, I was taken to the death corridor and appeared before the Death Commission in Evin, where I sat in a single chair in front of the 4-member committee. One of them was the current president of the regime, Ebrahim Raisi. I was among the very few survivors. After months of returning from my solitary confinement, I realized that most of the people I knew in the prison had been hanged, and the prison, which was full when I entered it, seemed deserted and empty. By the time I was released in March 1989, I realized that I have lost almost all my friends. I was rearrested again 2 months later in May 1989 and spent close to another year in jail. Eventually, as I was escaping Iran, I felt the responsibility of echoing the voice of my fellow cellmates and those who did not survive. My determination to be the voice of voiceless was the only force that kept me going. What is seen today in the streets of Iran, with the leadership of women and the struggle of young people to fight against the suppression forces in these 84 days of the uprising, is the result of a continuous struggle and resistance that has been going on in Iran, especially in prisons for years, and it is now evident in this new generation. The role of women in this revolution is undeniable, as we have seen it in the Iranian resistance, its leadership, and the pioneers in Ashraf III. Many of the women I was imprisoned with are now amongst the thousands of freedom fighter women in Ashraf III. In a speech titled Women, the Voice of Oppressed, in June 1996, Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect of National Council of Resistance of Iran, said, "In the tragedy of women in our unchained homeland, Iran, women's human identity has been denied. But know that those oppressed today will be tomorrow's victors." She then warned the ruling mullahs, "You have done your utmost to humiliate, suppress, torture, and slaughter Iranian women. But rest assured that you would receive the blow from the very force you counted." the very force whom your reactionary mindset cannot allow you to take into consideration. And this is the tale of a struggle that women in Iran are facing today. Thanks to Mrs. Mariam Rajavi's leadership, and thank you all.